Hi, everybody. It's Nick the Amputee. This is Life of Nick the Amputee. I also have a TikTok with Life of Nick the Amputee on it as well. And that's going to have like more workout videos and just like random updates and crazy ideas and thoughts that I might have. So, we're actually going to talk about what led to me becoming an amputee. Um, in 2019, I had a 3,000 pound piece of equipment crush my right ankle in July, and I had what they call a pylon fracture. Now, I had multiple surgeries. The first one was the day of the accident, which was an external fixation onto my ankle. Um, and then about 2 to 3 weeks later, after the swelling had gone down, we did an internal fixation. And I had about a foot long titanium rod and some pins and screws and all that kind of stuff placed into my leg. And that worked decently for, about a year and a half, and then I started having a lot of pain in the top of my ankle or the talus joint, where I had like cartilage and stuff like that, just really deteriorating due to the traumatic arthritis that was in fact like affecting me. And so as I was in pain, I sat there and we were talking to the surgeons, and they kind of gave me two options, and they're like, an ankle replacement or an ankle fusion. Now, an ankle replacement, and this is me, and please, I'm not a medical doctor, but from the research I have done, it just would not fix with my life. So at, at the time, so we're talking about 2020, 2021, and mind you, nowadays, the ankle replacement has come a lot further in the past couple of years, and even then, and even now, it's not what I would need. So the issue was I live I live such an active lifestyle that I would blow through the ankle replacement. Most ankle replacements are done for people older, 60s, 70s, don't really do too much. They might go golfing once or twice a month. They don't do a lot of walking, definitely no running. You could do some skiing with it, but like skiing, and I live in Georgia, so I don't ski, and I don't like to do light running. And so we went with the golden standard, which is the ankle fusion. So as we got the ankle fusion done, I had to relearn how to walk for the third or fourth time in my life. And it was okay, and the pain actually went away, and that's the reason we chose the ankle fusion, was to try to negate a lot of the pain that I was going through. Well, about 2 to 3 months after doing the ankle fusion, um, living a pretty normal life. I mean, definitely a reduction in activity still from where I wanted to be. Um, my subtalar joint actually started hurting a lot, and found out that I had arthritis throughout that and throughout my foot because of it. And so as I'm sitting there, I'm trying to, we're looking at options, and, we're revisiting the ankle replacement, and, possibly doing a subtalar fusion on top of the, you know, other fusion. And and I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, I can't do this. It's just too much. Like, I need to get my life back to the way I want it to be, the activity I want it to be. And one of the things that we, sat there and I was researching about was amputation. And it wasn't a overnight thing of, oh, I want to do an amputation. There was a lot of prayer. There was a lot of research. I'm telling you, when I sat there and said there was a lot of research, there were nights that I did 3 to 4 hours of research, looking at other amputees, looking at different prosthetic legs, looking at everything, and even revisiting the ankle replacement to the subtalar fusions, and just kind of looking at everything, and an amputation for my lifestyle and for my level of physicality made more sense than anything else. So it was a long, hard road to get the amputation done. But we finally got it done. And honestly, the pain that I was in from, the ankle joint, and even though we live in Georgia, which is pretty warm a lot of the time, during the wintertime it's cold. And I do go hunting, I do go fishing. Last March was almost agonizing for me because I love fishing. My family, they have a small pontoon boat. And, last March we were like, hey, let's go make a day of fishing on the water. And I went out on the boat, and even sitting down, trying to, negotiate your body on that irritated my ankle to the point where for about a month afterwards, I was in pain. Like every single day, I was still living through pain and it never fully recovered. So I unfortunately just had to. I have an eye walk, which if you don't know what an eye walk is, it's a hands-free crutch. I highly recommend them if you have a ankle or foot issue, and you can get around fairly well because it does take a lot of coordination and movement and stuff like that, and it will put pressure on your hips, so it can hurt if you're not used to it. But so I basically had to start living on an eye walk to get up and down, and and then as winter was coming in, hunting season opened up, and I had to use. I think we calculated. We ended up spending over like $800. Well, I'll say $800 to $1,200 just on like hand warmers, so I could wrap my ankle up to go hunting. And this is even if like I went hunting in the middle of the day, I would still have to wrap it up because being, that in the woods, it would start getting cold and I just, would be in pain the entire time. And if you're a hunter, you don't sit, you can't just be moving around like you're sitting and you start getting in pain. You want to kind of move things and kind of get things moving, and you can't really do that and sitting in a blind, to which I have a ground blind because being disabled I can't climb up a ladder. So we sat there and we started doing looking at the process, and just a below knee amputation felt like it was going to be best for my lifestyle, but also for my family and things like that. So we started really researching it even more then. And so this February 9th, I actually ended up getting the amputation. So thankfully, through my activity level and stuff like that, and through I have a very specific diet that I do. I don't eat red meats. I don't eat a lot of processed food. I eat a very rich protein or a very protein rich diet. But I also eat a lot of veggies and take my multivitamins, and of course work out and do exercise and try to prevent me from hurting any more way. Um, so it led to the amputation February 9th. So the great thing about the amputation is I'm not in pain. Like when I tell you the pain has gone away, I have, you've heard of phantom limb pain, and a lot of amputees are worried about it. And, of course, in the back of your head, even for me, I'm sitting there, how am I going to get through it? Well, I didn't really so much have phantom limb pain. I had phantom limb sensation. I still get it every once in a while. And it feels, for me, it's been like, feels like my foot that's not there is falling asleep. Or, if you had pains in your foot for like a long time, like I did, at first, like I would always feel like my ankle was still there and was still hurting. I had a ingrown toenail on my big toe that hurt a lot for a long time, and a lot of that came from that accident as well. Um, and so it was one of those things where I kind of felt those sensations at first, and then they started to deplete, and then it felt like my foot was just constantly falling asleep. I'm sure that you guys know what that feels like. Maybe it's one of those things that some people, it doesn't bother them as much as it does other people. For me, it's never really been painful, especially after having all those pains. But it went from that, and then sometimes like it felt more like a how do you put it? Road burn. Like it felt like road burn on the top of my toes. Like I had just like scraped the top of my foot with, and had road rash on it. But really, a lot of that has dissipated, and thankfully for me, uh, I have a really good surgeon. If if you're knee replacement, hip replacement, I'm gonna go ahead and give him a shout out because he's an amazing surgeon. He's, in my opinion, I had to deal with multiple surgeons, but he's the one that I fully trust. And his name is Dr. Mason Florence for Athens Orthopedic Clinic. Really great surgeon. Very, he kind of looks like Coco Melon's dad, right? So like, he's a really cool guy. And you just feel safe and secure with him because he actually cares about you as a patient, but he cares about your family and he cares about where you're going. And so he is an amazing surgeon. And his first thing was, hey, look, if you're going to do this, we got to get you with a good prosthetist. And I said prosthetist. And I know a lot of people, when I say prosthetist the first time, they're like, did he say prostitute? No, not prostitute, prosthetist. Now, so I got put up with Shamrock Prosthetics in Athens, Georgia. Now, every single person that I've actually met who knows an amputee or, is an amputee, their first thing to me is always, well, it's quite a drive from where we are, but in Athens, there's a place called Shamrock Prosthetics, and it's, the best. And I'm like, oh, I'm already there. And what's cool is they gave me this really good stump protector, which if you have a good prosthetist or anything like that, they, should give you a stump protector. Um, and there's different ones. This is mine. Um, it's just hard plastic. And having a 2.5 year old, it's really nice to, have something like this that's durable and, you know, really takes care of you. It's not bad looking. My favorite color is, bright green and blacks and grays. And I'm sure you can tell that I, tend to wear a lot of gray and green and stuff like that. But it also helps keep your knee straight. Now, what's great is this is my nub. He can say hi, he can say no. My 2.5 year old absolutely loves it because I've given my nub a little personality because, of course, it's something that he wasn't used to seeing his dad with a messed up leg. Now, this is my shrinker. Now, the shrinker is to, get my leg ready for the prosthetic. It's going to be a couple more weeks of, before I can actually start putting a prosthetic on. And once I can put a prosthetic on and I start getting used to life, you're definitely going to want to follow my TikTok more because I'll be doing things like skateboarding, running, um, like real good weightliftings and stuff like that. I hope to be trying out for the Paralympics pretty soon. Um, I've been talking to a couple companies. One of the companies that I've been talking to is Whole Strength, HOLSTRENGHT. They are a Christian um, activewear company, and it's really, they're really good people over there. They're, top notch clothing, top notch, personality, stuff like that. I am wearing a bucked up shirt. Great pre workouts. Definitely try them out if you like them. Their shaker bottles are probably my favorite shaker bottles. Just I've had so many different types of shaker bottles, but theirs I really do like their shaker bottles. My other pre-workout choice is typically Redcon One, um, and that's my choices. Redcon One is really cool because they have it where you can either buy the powder or that you can buy like the Total War pre-mix. So like if I don't have a you know clean shaker bottle or I just didn't mix my pre workout. I can always grab one of those and, you know, They always taste good. The bucked up stuff always tastes good. Um, who else is? There's a lot of good brands out there for activewear, and a lot of people, they just buy some of the cheaper stuff because they're like, "Oh, I'm going to start getting into it," and you'll go through it pretty quick. A lot of people don't realize I used to weigh 340 pounds. I was severely obese. I was morbidly obese. I'm at 5'11" and a half on one side. The other side, I'm only like 5 foot tall. But I mean, when they take a foot off of you, what do you expect, right? So um, there's a lot of good brands out there. One of my favorite brands for attire for the longest time was Gym Reapers. Really soft, really comfortable clothing. They have some of the best pant workout sweats that you can get. I've have three or four of those. The first ones I bought were great. I bought a second pair and I went to go tighten it one day and it kind of like broke, messed up a little bit. But I literally sit there and sent them a message, and within 30 minutes, uh, got a response saying, "Hey, look, we're going to send you another pair. Like, what color do you want?" And they sent it to me, and it was at my house within like 2 or 3 days. So, really good companies that you can look out. Um, but yeah, so like I said, I used to weigh 340. When my accident happened, I was right about 260, 270. And thanks to motivation from, God and my family and friends and stuff like that, I was able to get down to a lot smaller to 163. And honestly, that's helped me so much in this journey. A lot of people think, oh, well, I, I'm afraid to, get started because of this or that. And it's, well, you can't be afraid. We're all humans. We all live, on Earth, and the way that we make other people feel is what's going to, lead people either to God, away from God, or however, it might be. And I literally was talking to a guy today at the gym who he stopped me during my workout, which if you ever go to my gym and you see me or you see me out in public, please don't be afraid to sit there and be like, hey, I know you, or hey, I've seen you, or whatever. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother my family. Uh, so it's one of those things of if you see us and you're like, hey, I just kind of want to talk to you or, get your ideas. But I believe that, we live our lives and we sit there and people don't always remember what we say to them. They don't always remember how we say it to them, but they do remember how we make them feel about it. Now, we can make people feel really good or really bad. I try to make people feel really good. Um, and yes, I do sit there and I do use my amputation as a way to try to make people laugh, especially if they're having a bad day, because there's nothing for me to take out of my protector real quick and be like, hey, how you doing? Because people laugh at it. It's weird to see. It's this little nub that you know is a part of me, but if it can make somebody else happy, great. Um, I have found out that kids are are the best ones because the parents are always like, "Don't talk to them, don't look at it, don't bring attention to it." And my son is like not ashamed at, looking at me and being like, that leg broke, that leg fixed. And he'll look at this one, he'll say broken, he'll look at my other one, he'll say it's fixed. And, when kids ask questions, especially, well, for me, when kids ask me questions, I find that a lot more relieving than the parents telling them, well, don't ask them questions, don't do this, don't do that. Because it's curiosity. And I've had adults come up to me and ask me. And I'd rather you ask me and sit there and say, well, what happened? This and that. Because I don't feel as judged. I've had it where when I was on the I walk, um, people sit there and they want to laugh and they want to, point and they want to stare. And it doesn't bother me. Like it bothers my wife probably more than it bothers me. But I get it. It's something out of the normal. It's not something that you see somebody, using all the time and you see it. And what kills me is I, as somebody that has been through, that has lived with traumatic pain for about 5 years before I got my amputation, and I lost a considerable amount of weight. It's one of those things where I see it as, hey, we're sitting there and I'm living with this traumatic pain and I'm living in undescribable pain constantly, but I'm still able to get out there and do what I got to do to make myself happy and healthy. And then I see people with perfectly good bodies, just sitting there, not worried about exercise, not worried about diet. And I'm not trying to judge people or, where they need to be, but if you're at that point in your life, you have to realize that you can either, try to make yourself happier and healthier, because science does prove, that if you live a active, healthy lifestyle, that mentality wise, you're going to be much happier. If you have depression, it does help with it. There's so many things that come to living a happy, healthy lifestyle. And so that's really my thing is like I want to put out there, being happy and healthy can be done at any, point. And so even if you have a disability, it's one of those things where, guess what? Everybody has something that they're going through. Everybody. Some people have it better than others. Some people have it worse than others. But you can't live in that mindset sitting there going, hey, you know what? That guy has it easier than me. Or that guy has it, worse than me. And one of the funny things is, I had a guy at the gym just a couple of days ago come up to me and go, and he was a bigger guy, and he goes, man, you're lucky that this happened to you. Um, well, he didn't mean like that I got injured or that I had my leg amputated, that I was lucky. But he was saying, they're saying that, something like that had happened to him, he, he would have just sat there and probably gained a bunch of weight and probably, not been as good. And I literally had to like show him all the photos and, everything about, hey, listen, this is where I was. And I actually got a lot more active, and I really focused on my diet more after my injury because I knew I had to be healthier. I knew I had to be more active. It definitely was not easier. And, you know, I was one of those people. I was very fortunate in the fact that I got to mourn my old life with my foot on. And a lot of amputees, they don't get that option. They don't, there's a lot of people that aren't elective amputees. And so not every single amputee is going to be the same. And the way that we look at things aren't always going to be the same because unfortunately, not everybody gets to choose this. Not everybody has the ability to sit there and say, okay, this is what's best for me. Some people are forced into it. So it's one of those things of, well, what do you do as an amputee? Well, my day is pretty simple. I wake up, I get my son dressed, we go out to the truck, I take him to where he's got to go, and then I go to the gym, I do what I got to do. I got to pick him up. He'll typically nap in the truck. If I have to drive around a little bit longer, I will. And then we get home, I fix him dinner, I clean, we, and we just work. And then my wife comes home from work, and, you know, we do what we got to do. So if you're looking at becoming an amputee, or that's somebody that's looking at becoming an amputee, and you've got comments, you've got questions, you've got concerns, they're all valid. So please don't sit there and look at one amputee and say, this is going to be my life, and don't look at another one and say, well, that could be my life, because everything is different. Every single injury is different. Every single reason to becoming an amputee is different. Um, I had a pylon fracture, and I'm part of a support group on Facebook for pylon fracture still. just like I am as an amputee on Facebook. And it's one of those things that there are support groups out there. But the pylon fractures, there were people, when I had my initial injury, that when I got hurt and I finally learned about this page and like I'm looking at it and I'm sitting there researching it, and these people are like, oh, I had this severe pylon fracture, and their injury looked worse than mine, honestly. Like looking at their bones and stuff like it looked worse than mine. They had more hardware in their leg, but they're able to go running, and they're able to go jumping and do all these other crazy things I wasn't able to do. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, but they're able to do it. Why can't I do it? And it all comes down to the initial injury. And for me, it was one of those things of, well, I got down, I got upset, I got depressed, and I mourned my old life. And I used to sit there and say, man, I wish I could have done this when I was, whole. I wish I could have done that when I was whole. I wish I had been more active. And I was like, well, you know what? Even though I'm dealing with this injury, that doesn't mean that I can't be more active than I was. And so I figured out how to make things work for me and do things, and staying within inside what I could do successfully without hurting. And unfortunately, the internal fixation just was not good for me. It wasn't where I needed to be. And then so we went to the next level, which was the ankle fusion. And again, it lasted for a little bit. I was told that it should last 20 to 25 years, and I should basically be without pain for 20 to 25 years. And it didn't happen for me. And it is what it is. I there's a guy that I go to the gym with who was a firefighter, and he had his fusion done in like 82, 83. And he was a firefighter, and he retired from firefighting. And to this day, he lives with a fusion, and he kind of run on the treadmill and walk on the treadmill. And that was something I could never do with my fusion. And so it is different for every single person. And even though some people's might look worse and some people's might look better, you do realize that you don't know exactly all the damage that was done to that person's leg just by looking at it. And trust me, I've looked at a lot of x-rays, and I have a pretty good sense that, like how bad it could hurt, but I still don't know what that person's going through. So, like I said, if you are an amputee or you know somebody that's an amputee, whether it be by choice, trauma, whatever the situation might be, even health implications, please, comment, like, subscribe, and I'm here to help you guys out as much as I possibly can. So, I hope you all have a great day. Remember, motivation plus dedication can equal inspiration, and you can either inspire yourself or other people. So do good, be good, and make people happy. All right, thank you for watching Life of Nick the Amputee. Like I said, I'll probably be loading up on Fridays, but I'm going to try to do some more. But I have short platform stuff on TikTok with the same name of Life of Nick the Amputee. Have a good one.